Well, a very good afternoon to you, and you're welcome to the program. It's Good Afternoon, Ghana. My name is Annie Ifwa Ampof. We'll be taking you through from now till 3 p.m. as we look into another office of so much importance to Ghana. When it comes to a lot of the things that we need to do in this country, there's one office that helps us understand, teaches us a lot of the things, especially of national interest, when it becomes your duty and responsibility as a Ghanaian. Now, that office is the NCC. The NCC actually is marking 30 years of existence. 30 years of existence. You as a Ghanaian, is there anything you've benefited from that office? Is there anything you think they can do better? What are some of the things you think that they have done within the years? It's as if you have existed for 30 years. At least for 20 years of your life, you should know what the NCC has done for you. You can text me and we'll read the messages as well. Well, we will have our guest in the studio with us. Ms. Kathleen Addy is a chairperson for the National Commission for Civic Education. I'll be very much interested in asking her a lot of questions as far as that office is concerned. Because one problem for the years of me being in this job has been we don't have money. So I don't know how the NCC has been able to exist for 30 years with sometimes top challenges that, restrict them from carrying out some of the duties that they are expected to carry out. Some of these questions will be posed to our chief coming with us in the studio. Let's take a breather. When we come back, we'll start talking. All right, you're welcome back to the program. It's Good Afternoon, Ghana, and I earlier on introduced to you that we're going into the office of the National Commission for Civic Education. We shall call it NCC. I'm sure that it's such a household name, at the lips of every Ghanaian. For whatever reason, whichever reason you choose, I'm sure most of you have heard about NCC. But our guest is in the studio with me, Ms. Kathleen Addy, and she is a chairperson for the NCC. You're welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you.
I'm grateful so much that you joined us.
Thank you so much.
We're praying that she actually will be able to make it because we started hearing yesterday that, okay, she will come. Make sure she comes. So, because chairpersons there sometimes.
No. I'm not that kind. I always show up, yes.
You always show up. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. Anyway, so good afternoon to you and congratulations. 30 years.
Yes, 30 years of the institution, yes.
So I think my first question will be on 30 years. Mm-hmm. Are you proud of an NCC and why?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very proud of the institution. NCC is a very, very, very unique institution. You look around the world and you will not find institutions of civic education structured the way our commission is. And it was structured that way for a reason, because we're coming out of a time of military rule. We had been under military rule for over a decade. And at the time, the framers of the Constitution saw it fit to set up an institution like this, especially given our history of republics being overthrown by military interventions. And they felt that, look, it's important that the Fourth Republic succeeds. It is important that history is not repeated. And in order to do that, then the people, the citizens must understand the democracy that we are practicing and their citizenship and their role in that democracy. So the important work we do is around getting people to understand the Constitution and to understand that we have chosen the path of democracy, and we must do all we can to stay on that path. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when you say you are proud of how it was structured.
Yeah. So over the 30 years, NCC has been instrumental in shaping the state that we have today. We have staff in every single district in the country. We have regional offices that are staffed as well. They go out there and they do the work of getting citizens to understand their civic rights, their responsibilities. They work under harsh conditions, but they go out and do the work anyway. Mm-hmm. They walk in communities from village to village, crossing waters over dangerous territory, but they get the work done. And so I am proud of that achievement of staying the course in spite of all the difficulties that we have faced over the years and arriving at 30 years of a constitution that has held, a fourth republic that has held and has not been overthrown as in the past.
Do you not have an issue with the appointing procedure of who heads NCCE? Because, I mean, regardless how the constitution structures what it's supposed to do, it still has a certain form of appointment that somewhat makes it tainted with political colors. And sometimes we wonder, okay, are they really doing their work with free hands?
Sure.
Or sometimes are they informed on what to do? Are they whipped in line by the appointing authorities?
Thank you. That's actually a very important question. The Commission for Civic Education is one of 4 independent institutions, governance institutions in this country. The Constitution set up 4 of them. There's the NCCE, which is Commission for Civic Education. There's the Electoral Commission, the Media Commission, and Commission on Human Rights and Administration Justice. So these 4 are what we call the independent governance institutions. Yes, the heads of those institutions are appointed by a sitting president when a vacancy becomes available. Once appointed, the institution is insulated from direct intervention by government. If you look at our Act, if you look at the Constitution, you will see that we don't take instructions from any institution or person in the country. We report to Parliament, not to the executive. And over the years, that is how it has been. We take our plan of action and operation to the Parliament. All our reporting procedures are to the Parliament, specifically Special Budgets Committee of Parliament. And we've been doing so ever since.
But that's on paper.
So how do you know what happens not on paper?
You wouldn't know. But
that's what. So I'm here to tell you.
You only have a mind of
I'm here to tell
suspicion.
you that is the way it works. Everybody's entitled to their opinion on the matter. But I think that you make an accusation based on evidence, right? Unless somebody can say for a fact that this, something that we did somewhere, is indicative of being manipulated, then it'll be quite unfair to just make a general statement that there is a hand that is guiding us outside of the constitutional provision. I hope you understand what I'm saying. If you want to say this, it has to be based on something factual that has actually happened. Then you can say that based on this, we can say that these people are being directed or something by somebody who should not be directing them. And that applies to all the 4 institutions, independent governance institutions. But outside of that, I think that you have to judge by the work that is done. You know, the work that we do is public education.
Yeah.
It's not hidden work. There's nothing hidden about our operations. We are supposed to educate the public on their rights, on their responsibilities. We are supposed to educate the public on how to be good citizens. I don't see how this can be something that can be influenced one way or the other. I speak for our institution. We've had heads appointed by different governments over the years. And so far, the work that we do is the same work that we do. It doesn't change from one head of the institution to the other. And I don't think that anybody can say that we have done our work in a way that indicates, or anybody can prove, actually, that we have done our work in a way that indicates that there is some invisible hand guiding us. I don't think so.
So maybe on hindsight, with some of the analysis and critiques of the 1992 Constitution itself, that allows more of the power into the hands of the executive, will you agree that some of these appointing powers should be taken from the hands of whichever president we have, including that of the NCCE?
Well, first of all, the president
because no
appoints
matter what you do,
in consultation
sometimes you get yourself entangled
with the Council of State. You can't say that without proof, madam. You have to be able to prove that. That's just an assumption. It's quite unfair too, until you can actually say that based on something concrete. I don't think it's fair.
No, I'm saying
but,
that. Hold on, let me just clarify
yeah.
the question. My question is, the advice, analysis, and
I get that.
People are saying that let's take some of the powers from the executive. Do you think that the NCC should be one of those
I
institutions
think that
should
comes
benefit?
down. I think that comes down to the people of Ghana, right, and the constitutional review process. And if it is agreed, do you understand that that's what needs to be done? Then of course that's what needs to be done. It's not for me to say. I hope you understand
Yeah.
me. If it is agreed that the provision that allows the president to appoint the heads of the independent governance institutions in consultation with the Council of State has proven to be so terrible that the outcome has been so disastrous that right now we have to do it a different way. If that's what the people agree to, that's what it should be.
But I want your part of.
I don't have an opinion on it.
You don't have an
No,
opinion.
I don't.
NCC, you honestly think that when it comes to the Constitution and its amendments of some of the laws captured, you can give us a bit of input?
Then you don't understand the work that we
the-
do. Our work is public education. We don't do prescription.
No, you don't do
understand?
prescription.
So
I'm just
exactly.
saying.
So we don't prescribe what constitutional amendments should happen. Once the process is done and we have whatever needs to happen, we take on the job of the public education. We take on the job of getting people to understand what has been agreed.
Yeah.
But it is not our job to prescribe what should be changed in the Constitution.
That's because you're probably really satisfied with how far you have come.
No,
And what you have been
madam,
able to
I didn't say
achieve.
that. I didn't say that. I'm telling you that is the process. You should not work outside
Your
of your
mandate.
remit or your mandate. There are other people who are supposed to do that with, you understand? The last time in 2010 when we had the constitutional review process, right, NCC was very much involved. Right?
Exactly.
The involvement was to the extent that we did the public education aspect of it. We went out and created platforms for town hall meetings, for people's opinions of citizens to be collated, and all of that went into the final document. We never prescribed anything. That's not our job.
I'm not saying it's your job, which is why you said then I don't understand your work.
Yes,
I do
yes,
understand
yes.
your work. I've been with NCC for so many years. So I think I've even learned on the job. And sometimes I've gone on some of your trips with you. I was just asking because you find yourself in a position where you play a very neutral role in helping Ghanaians understand their responsibilities and duties. So I mean, once I had the opportunity of you in my studio, I thought I should just
Absolutely,
I should just throw that question there.
Yes, absolutely.
For you to.
No. All well and good, and
Yeah.
it's all in the right direction, and it gives me the opportunity to actually explain. So I very much appreciate that.
Right. Thanks. So, in your 30 years address, you wrote something. I just want to read part of the your speech. You said, "Create and sustain within the society the awareness of principles and objectives of the 1992 Constitution, Fourth Republic." Fourth Republican Constitution as a fundamental law of the people of Ghana. And we're still on the Constitution. That actually is the point that you were making on. Let me start reading from here. You say that, we're able to deploy programs and activities to advance our mandate, which is to promote the and sustain Ghana's democracy and include in the Ghanaian citizens the awareness of the rights and obligations through civic education. Our values of integrity, presence, and independence have, and take note, the integrity, presence, and independence have been highlighted in the speech, right? Which is why when I read it, I actually went on the line where I was trying to ask you the questions, have been a hallmark of the commission all these years. So then it goes on to say that we remain faithful to our functions as stated in the Article 233 of the Constitution and reads as follows. So create and sustain within the society the awareness of the principles and objectives of the 1992 Constitution, Fourth Republic, as a fundamental law of the people of Ghana. At this point in time, when you are even educating people on the Constitution, is there a bit of some frustration? Because we have people saying that, well, the Constitution has outlived its usefulness, so I'm not sure how people now receive, the generation obviously has changed over the period. How do they receive it when you are trying to enforce that, listen, this is what it is today, so you do it or nothing at all?
Right. Thank you very much. Another great question. In the life, constitutions are living documents. In the life of every constitution, there comes a time when you need to amend. Because at the time that the constitution is written or is framed, is developed, conditions could have changed. At the time that our constitution was put together, we lived in a very different Ghana. We lived in a Ghana that had only seen military government for a very, very, very long time. We lived in a very, very different Ghana from today, you know. And so if 30 years down the line, there's a call for amendments, or there's a call to review the constitution and make some changes to reflect the times that we live in, I think that is very, very, very legitimate. And so it is up to us as a people to go through the process of identifying what needs to be changed and then go through the process of changing it. So there is no problem. How it's received, people, of course, there's a clamor for constitutional review now, and nobody's arguing with that. And so when we go out and do public education, it comes up and we engage and discuss it. It doesn't mean that the Constitution should be thrown away altogether. That's not what a review means. It means that people have problems with certain aspects of it, and legitimately so. And so we as a people must decide how we want to proceed to a point where we've made those amendments and we've implemented the changes that we need to implement. But
does it not, maybe yes, another frustration that you face? You know, we've made an attempt to review. Sometimes when you review, you're collecting information from the people and then you're putting it together. You as NCC will also be doing alongside educating people on what the Constitutional Review Committee is doing. And then it gets to a point we just go to sleep. On all that we have done, we go to sleep.
Yes. So it is what it is. In 2010, the review process was fairly comprehensive. Like I said, our involvement was, because we are present in every district, we did the job of putting the town hall meetings together, helping to collect all the changes that people wanted, and all that fed the final document. And that's where our job is. If beyond that, as a state, it doesn't happen, it doesn't frustrate us because we do the job when it comes, you understand? Recently, there was another attempt, this time round, to get the election of MMDCEs, in place. Again, we went out, we did the public education. Once the process was truncated, we moved on. You understand? You have to understand that our work is education, and it cannot frustrate us. When you're doing education and something happens, you can't say that, oh, but I educated this way before and now something has happened, so I'm frustrated. That's not, you don't have that space to do that. Yours is to pick up wherever you leave off and continue, because the people have to know. And truth of the matter is that things change, right? Things change. Well, we took the lead in the COVID education, for instance. The COVID protocols that were in place at the time of COVID education, we don't have them in place anymore. Is that to say that because we're doing education on COVID and telling people to wear nose masks, now that there's no more nose mask, we are frustrated? No. Now there's a new way of doing things, so we continue to educate in that new way.
But that one, I mean, we cannot compare the COVID education.
It's not. I'm just trying to do an illustration that when something changes, the principle I'm trying to establish is that when something in the education changes, we are not allowed to be frustrated. Our only job is to continue to do the education with whatever is the new information that we need to put out there. We don't have the luxury of frustration. Let me put it that way. We don't have the luxury to say, oh, this is now frustrating. No, we don't.
That's because I think I asked that because if it's in a cyclical form, we are putting in resources. NTC will always say we don't have money, we don't have money, we don't have resources, and that's why, like I said, for over 10 years, my NTC interviews, we don't have money ringing in my head, So it's as if we don't have money and there's a policy that we're trying to, go on that path, and then we are in a cyclical form, we're not ending that particular policy, we don't know where we're going, then you don't even have to, it's not a matter of not having the room to be frustrated. It's just natural. It will just come naturally that, oh wow, this is, because you're dealing with people who are difficult. You go back and forth with them.
The people are not difficult.
Oh, okay. We thank you. We thank you.
The citizens, we cannot call them difficult. They are totally entitled to the information that they need to get in order to be good citizens. Besides, we don't do only work about constitutional review. There's a lot of things that we do, and that's why I brought this just as an illustration. we do the work of getting people to be good citizens, to understand their rights and their responsibilities towards the state, because that democracy is based on the social contract.
Yeah.
The people pay their taxes, cooperate with their elected leaders in order to get certain outcomes, right? Now, once they elect leaders, they have to hold the leaders to account. Once they elect leaders, they have to be actively involved in governance wherever they find themselves. You understand? Once you are a citizen, you have your own responsibilities, defending the Constitution, paying your taxes, and protecting the environment. You have responsibilities. And so we teach people about these things as well. The constitutional review matter, when it comes up, then we are on it. When it doesn't come up, we are continuing with the other work that we do.
Yeah. Right. Let's deal with that. For 30 years, you are celebrating with the Constitution.
Yes, because the Constitution birthed us, so we have the same birth year.
We birth year.
Okay,
so you have successes, you have challenges, you have. I've seen that you also wrote about your threats you face as far as education is concerned. But let's deal with the successes first, then we'll come with the negatives. What are some of the things you think you've done so well? Because you have people saying that Ghana is going backwards. I don't know if you heard it.
Oh, absolutely. And when we come to the threats, I can elaborate on some of that. Sure. Of course, we live in a time of a lot of turmoil. First of all, it's global. There's all the certainties, all the geopolitical arrangements that one thought were so certain and could not break, that one could rely on. A lot of them are not so anymore. A lot of the countries that we indirectly looked up to as democratic models are also struggling with their democracy. So first, we have to understand that there's a global problem that the whole world is facing, at least the democratic part of the world is facing, because people are beginning to question whether the democracy is delivering for them, right? When you come to our sub-region and you look at all that is going on, you see that there's a lot of turmoil, there's military interventions. Again, when we thought that, at least from our side, we thought that we have gone past all of that. In the 70s, from independence right through the 70s, it was coup after coup. 3 attempts at a republic were truncated because of illegal overthrow of government, right? And then somehow in this 4th republic, we've managed to hold it for 30 years. So to that extent, not just NCC, as a country, this is something we should be proud of. Now, that is not delivering everything that is expected to deliver. Yes, there are problems. As we speak, if you look at my speech, you see that I state one of the first threats as the current economic challenges that we face. There's no running away from it. When people have economic challenges, they begin to question the system of governance. They begin to say, maybe it's because of democracy that we're having these challenges, or maybe we need another form of governance, right? And that is what I call a threat. So we are proud of the 30 years of stability. We have played an active role to ensure that, by ensuring that people understand what the democracy is and people understand what they need to do. The nature of our work is not such that you can point to a classroom block and say that we built this, right? But we can point to how the society has evolved and say that to the extent that we've managed to remain stable for 30 years, and it's a good thing.
I was actually coming there because you
let no one tell us.
What you teach is not tangibles.
Yeah, it's not.
But a little, maybe quasi-tangible.
It's not quasi-tangible. It's something that you need to see in action, right? In the sense that, like I said, it's not concrete. It's not a classroom block, right? So you can't count it in that sense, but you can tell if you never had an institution, right? And for the entire period, you had, all these instability, in your governance. And then you set up a constitution and you make a certain institutional arrangement. And after that, you have 30 years of stability. That must count for something, right? That must count for something. And so we are very proud of that record, right? We are very proud that we've come this far. What did you say? So we talk about the threats now,
yeah,
right?
we can go into the threats, but before that, I was just saying that do we consider our growing democracy as being the NCC being the driver that has carried us all this while to this point, and so we are successful. Is that what we're saying?
What I'm saying is that there is a certain institutional arrangement. There is no institution that works in isolation in this country. It doesn't work that way. We collaborate with other institutions. We work with other ministries, other agencies of government. We collaborate. We get support from agencies, donors. We've put in a concerted effort based on a certain institutional arrangements. We collaborate with the Electoral Commission when it's time for elections and voter education. We collaborate with Commission on Human Rights when we have to do human rights education. We collaborate with the Media Commission. So I'm saying that the institutional arrangement that was put in place by the framers of the Fourth Republican Constitution is what has brought us this far, and NCC is an integral part of that institutional arrangement.
So let's go into the threats. Let's start with the economy. How does it threaten you?
It doesn't threaten me. I said it's a threat to the democracy. It doesn't threaten our institution.
Yes, I'm
the
saying
threats I outlined are threats to our democracy, not threat to our institution. Our institution is not threatened if we continue to exist as a democracy, right? Because that's not a threat. And because we are focused on ensuring that we continue with the democracy, that brings, that yields the fruit that is expected from the citizens. That is where our focus is. It's not on the threat to the institution.
So explain to me how it's been captured as a threat.
What I said was that they are threats to our democracy.
If I can read a bit of what you
Maybe
wrote.
you don't have my final speech,
You
madam.
said-
I'm telling you that what I said was that there are threats. I have my own speech here, if you like I can read it for you. There are threats to our democracy, and I won't name 3 of them. And I named the fact that we live under difficult economic circumstances, right? And I named one to be the monetization of the politics, money in politics. And I named the third one to be the current preponderance of fake news, disinformation, and misinformation. And I said these 3 things are threats to our democracy, not to our institution.
So just because you're doubting what I have, let me read. If it's wrong, you tell me.
Okay.
It says economic hardship that has left many citizens, especially young people, with a sense of despair about the future. This sense of despair has led to calls for the undemocratic means of registering displeasure, such as coup d'etat, as it's happening in other countries in the sub-region. I cannot emphasize enough that the coup d'etat is not the solution to our problems as a country. We cannot afford to erode the hard-won gains of our democracy. Indeed, when it comes to coup, Ghana has been there. We've done that, and we know for a fact that nothing good can come out of it.
You have my speech. Those are my words.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. Right.
Those are my words. And nowhere here did I say that the economic hardship is a threat to our institution. I said it's a threat to our democracy.
To our democracy. That's
Yes.
what I'm asking you to
Yes.
explain to us.
Yeah. No. So it is a threat to our democracy for the very reason stated. Disillusionment, especially amongst young people, feeling that they are not reaping the full benefits of a democracy as they envisage it. That is a threat, because that leads to frustration. That leads for some people to call for an overthrow of our current political structure. You understand? So it is a threat in that sense, that it leaves people disillusioned and it leaves people frustrated. And out of that frustration, and it's not hidden. We've had all these discussions. Somebody say that, because there's a coup in another country, then there should be a coup in Ghana. And I'm stating the fact that the coup is not the solution to our problems. Because for other countries, maybe they don't have a history of that. We have been there. We've had several coups in this country, and we have done that, and nothing good came of it, right? And so we have to address the thing that is causing that problem, which is the economic hardship. So it's just highlighting how this is not just an issue, but actually a threat to our fundamental existence.
Right.
And so calling that these economic hardships, what can be done about it, should be done about it, so that we are not in this situation where people are so frustrated that a coup becomes attractive.
Right. We also have another point. It's a second that I would like to highlight is the monetization of politics. But maybe before I go, that's a lot of work there, monetization of politics. But in terms of economic hardship, a lot of the times, indeed, and with a talk about coup, is a youth. You know, that we're careful of. And I remember, I think one of the leaders who was analyzing the situation says that one thing that's very dangerous dealing with human beings is a person who has no hope, has no children, has no properties, you know, they can do anything. So when you sense these hardships, do you know, develop certain policies targeted at a certain group of people?
Yes.
And you know, this...
in our normal order of business, targeting young people is very important for us because they are new citizens and they must learn the things that we teach about rights, about responsibilities, and all of that, right? So even in our general work, we have special programs for young people all the time. We have in-school programs for youth. We have out-of-school programs for youth. In-school programs we deploy through the civic clubs that we have in several schools. Not all schools, which should ideally be the case, but we have in over 5,000 schools, we have these civic education clubs, and we do the work of educating the youth and trying to let them understand the democratic path that we are on. That we, for out-of-school youth, in the communities, we work with apprenticeship groups, trade associations, youth clubs, church groups, area boys clubs, and all of those things. We engage them, we educate them, we interact with them, we teach them, you understand? So youth is a huge focus for us. Now, in this time that we are living, in this time with the economic problem that we are having and the frustration that is being vented out, of course we are targeting young people again. In fact, we are about to launch a new project focused on democracy because we need to debate it. We need to give people the platform to air their views. If we say that the democratic path is the one that we've chosen and we want to stay on, we need to constantly engage those who are dissatisfied for them to understand that this is actually, that the frustration that we face maybe is a glitch, maybe it will pass. Do you understand? We put things in perspective and help them to understand why this is ideal for us. So we do that routinely, but in the coming weeks we are doing a project targeting young people and democracy so that we get people to understand. Sometimes people just need to vent their frustration, rightfully so.
Actually.
And they need...
I mean, one funny thing that, let me just run that through the Gabonese president. Yesterday we had the video. Was it yesterday, 3 days ago, where he was, you know, in a room telling us to make noise. And, you know, people have churned out another form of communication from that and saying that, well, when you're in power, you want us to keep quiet.
Exactly.
You know, but when you lose power, that's when you tell us to make noise. So it's very important that you let us make the noise whilst you're in power.
Exactly. People need to show their... Part of being in a democracy is that you are guaranteed freedom of speech. You have every right to voice your frustration. Right? You have every right to do that. You have every right to hold your government accountable. And you have to do this in the context of the arrangements that are set, the legal way, you know, but you must, your right must not be... yeah, exactly. So, like I said, it's something we do already. Sometimes people think that we move from headquarters to do public education, but that's not the case. It's a heavily decentralized organization. Right. So, in the communities, in every district where we have an office, and we do have an office in every district, the staff of the office are the ones that, based on a program guide that we send every quarter, are able to deploy the public education on the subjects that we have outlined in the program guide, which we send out every quarter. The program guide is based on a set of guidelines that the leadership of the institution, including the regional directors, come together and agree for a coming year. We meet and we agree that these are going to be the major things that we are going to cover in the coming year. But as time goes on, issues come up. And so once we send out a quarterly guide, we are guided by what we agree on as an institution together with all the leadership, plus whatever is current and needs attention immediately. Those things go into a program guide every quarter, and we send it through the regions and the districts. And so targeting young people is integral to that. We always ensure that we highlight the young people must be targeted on such and such and such.
Do you have, okay, so the program guide you built, targeting young people.
Not only young people, the program guide sets out all the activities for the highlights of, or the summaries of areas of focus for the quarter.
But I'm being specific. I'm trying to go down to
right,
the
right,
young
right.
people.
Sure.
The young people regarding school-going age young people type, JHS, SHS, even primary schools. There's this trend, of young people being so addicted to social media and not knowing the dangers of it. Maybe by my work, I come across a lot of some of these videos, and sometimes it's very difficult to even play it or air it, to let people see how bad the situation is. And we have just left them on social media. They are on their own. They can do things and they are fine. And then later we go and call them, we punish them. You hear them insulting president, insulting everybody. They are doing sexual things. My boss will say, in our days, the things we did, if there were social media, we probably wouldn't have been where we are today. So that alone tells you that their future is endangered by their activities today that leaks onto social media. I'm not sure that issue, I think, is very important to me.
Okay. So, I don't know, maybe if you go back to the last couple of addresses I've made, social media is actually a key part of what I talk about. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I was at the YWCA 71st anniversary. So I was a keynote speaker there. And the greater part of my speech was around social media and how young people are using it. And how, as a people, we are missing the opportunity to use this thing to actually propel ourselves forward. And rather, we use it to hold ourselves back by doing the very things that you described. I mean, people are broke, but they get 2 cedis to buy data, and they choose to do things that will not, inure to their progress in any way. So we focus on that a lot. When we speak to young people, we always bring it up. That's the social media. And an extension of that is the third threat that I speak of in my speech, which is fake news, misinformation, and disinformation, right? A lot of which is targeted at young people as well, at getting people to believe something that is not true, so that they will get emotional, so that they will rise up and do something untoward, or to react in a way that will, in the long run, not benefit them, work against them. There's a lot of that on social media as well. These days, you find all these videos that talk about why the democracy is not good for us. Right. I don't know if you have noticed the trend. It is a trend. I don't think that it's just random. Somebody is sitting somewhere, cooking it, pushing it out there, because when we are not a democracy, it's an opportunity for a lot of other things, you understand? And so there's a lot of threats around social media, right? Personally, I have some extreme views, which I will not say on you. I will not say on you. I don't, but I really think that people must have a serious awareness of the damage that thing can cause when we focus on what we see online, which is not necessarily reality. People have very little money that they spend, and then they buy data, and what do? They forward their jokes, they follow some kind of people who don't do anything that benefits you. Whereas, in actual fact, right, if you're a student, there's nothing you're studying that cannot be enhanced by using social media and the internet. All information on earth is online and it's free. Think about that. So whatever subject you're studying that you have a difficulty with, if you go online, you will find a way to do it better, to upgrade yourself. If you go on YouTube, you'll find a video that helps you understand how things are. You find free lessons, free classes. Why are we not taking advantage of that? Why are we rather focusing on the negative aspects of social media? So it's a huge problem, And in other countries, they have other ways of intervening. But here, we can only educate. We can only educate people and create serious awareness amongst young people. I mean, the other day, 2 days ago, I was telling these ladies at the YWCA that you can develop a skill based on YouTube videos. And I gave them my own personal example, which is not needed here. But I
maybe the next interview will be needed. Yeah.
That you can develop a skill. You can learn bead making, you can learn hat making, you can learn to make wig caps, you can learn makeup. All of these things are things that are also on the same social media. So why waste your time on jokes and insults and pushing fake news and all of that? It doesn't help. So personally, for me personally and institutionally, it is an area that we focus on very hard because it is important that we help young people, understand the impact of social media on their lives, depending on how they use it.
Our time is almost up, but I honestly cannot. Yes, very short. So,
but let's talk about monetization. I think is very important.
Okay, monetization of politics. I wanted to talk about election 2024.
Okay. But before we talk about election 2024, we have to talk about election 2023, which is district level elections. That's all of you ignore.
Producers, do we have another interview
5 minutes.
slot? Okay, 5 minutes. But do we have another interview slot? Or maybe 1 hour? Maybe next week, so that we don't have a break.
We are always available. And
Thank you.
Let me just say this. We are very grateful to media houses like yours that give us this time. One of the reasons why we don't hear of us, particularly in the big urban areas like here, is that we can't afford the airtime.
We can't afford the free services.
But civic education is a shared responsibility.
Oh, that's what you.
We all have our role to play.
I mean, all my trips are done with NCC. I didn't get Soliu. Hey, it's so difficult. But sometimes it's fun.
It is
because you are on the road.
Once you get into it, you realize that you have a passion for it. Who doesn't want to live in a just society? Who doesn't want to live in a safe country? Who doesn't want to live in a place where there is so much hope that you will not feel like getting up and migrating to another? So we all do, you understand? So I'm not saying this lightly. I actually am very grateful when a media house, it's not every day, right? Okay. But at least if once a month, you give us a little bit of time once a month to do this kind of engagement. It goes such a long way because you see my voice, it doesn't go far. This is my voice. It doesn't. When I stand at YWCA and I say something, you will never hear. But if I sit here and I say it, everybody who is part of YWCA will hear. Everybody in Ghana who watches TV will hear.
That's why our platform is expensive.
I understand, but it's a shared responsibility.
Our voice go far. Anyway, let's use the last few minutes.
Okay.
You touch on the monetization. Okay, my producers are giving me Monday slots. Is it? Oh, that won't be bad. So Monday slots, we're there. So then we'll get into elections.
Okay.
But let's do the monetization and then
Sure. One of the other threats that I highlighted 2 days ago was the fact that the monetization of the money in politics is also a threat to our democracy. In the past, we used to only hear of rumors of money in politics. But now, thanks to the same old social media, we actually see the supply of money and the demand for money, do you understand, for votes. It's very dangerous because it takes away from the democratic principles. The democratic principle is that anybody who feels capable, right, who has the capacity and the passion, right, and meets the criteria, can stand and be elected into one office or the other. But now we all know that if you don't have bags and bags and bags of money, you can't do that. So the first issue is that a lot of people who could actually be good leaders are kept out of leadership because of the financial hurdle, the impossibility of raising the funds needed.
I have friends have advised not to go into politics.
Yes, secondly, the money that is used, that circulates in the political season, does not fall from a tree. It is money that came from somewhere. Somebody has applied that money, and the person is not Father Christmas. The person is not a benevolent spirit, right? The person is somebody who is putting their money in there and will take it out one way or the other. And then we, the citizens, we lose. You understand? So it's a big issue, and it's a threat to democracy because all of a sudden we are operating a democracy, but it's beginning to get skewed because of the infiltration of too much money into the democratic process. And I think it's a very important issue that, we need to address. We need to eliminate it. Too much money in politics. We need to eliminate it. A lot of women can run for office.
You were saying that, your mandate is to educate. Once the policy is drawn, then you go out and educate. So it doesn't fall within your remit to necessarily
It falls within our remit to highlight the threats and to educate citizens not to encourage that behavior, right? If we make these financial demands on people who are vying to be elected for office, we are part of the problem. If the people standing for office also go about offering the money, they are part of the problem. We need to highlight it to all of them. You understand? So it falls within our remit to that extent.
Okay, so this one actually forms the basis for our next interview with our chairperson for NCC next week, Monday. You know, it's very arguable, I'm telling you, but I'm sure most of you are interested. Honorable Issa Hussaini, thank you for doing the watching. Good afternoon to you. And I'm sure Monday we'll continue. We cannot use 1 hour to discuss a 30-year-old institution.
No, we can't.
So yeah, we'll continue next week and
Absolutely.
get into these deeper areas, especially elections. It carries us all through.
Yes.
You know, once
Yes.
we've elected leadership, then the whole 4 years we are doing politics, you know. So yeah, we need to talk some more.
Sure.
So I'm grateful for coming to
I
you
am
today.
so grateful to Metro
Thank you.
TV. I am so grateful. We look forward to a more sustained, stronger relationship whereby you continue to give us time for us to continue to do the work that we do for all of us citizens of Ghana.
This woman is lobbying, Sha. I beg. So, Ms. Kathleen Adi is the chairperson for the National Commission of Civic Education, NCC. I'm grateful as well for coming.
Thank you so much, Honey.
So,
Thanks.
we'll see her next week, God willing, again Monday, as we continue. We left where we left off, starting from the monetization of, our elections, and then we get into election matters as well. Thanks for watching, and Entertainment Review is next.